Welcome into Haus of Wrestling, everybody. It's me, Nick Hausman. Come on in to the porch here today as we are sitting outside in front of the house, chatting with one of the hottest free agents in all of professional wrestling. You may have seen him in MLW, but he's here today in the house. It's Richard Holliday. Richard, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Nick, what's going on? Yeah, absolute pleasure. We've been trying to get this interview going for a while now, so I'm happy to chat.
Yeah, man. I wanted to chat because we actually had some time to spend together in Chicago working at Warrior Wrestling, and you were just wonderful to work with. And I thought you really popped. And when I saw everything that you were going through, obviously my heart, like everyone else's, went out to you and, tried to give you your space and everything. And now that you're back and kicking ass, fighting for the GCW championship and everything in between, I thought it'd be wonderful to catch up with you, So there we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, Warrior Wrestling. That was 2021.
Yeah.
Summer of 21, maybe.
Sitting behind the bleachers, that's right.
Yeah, that's that football field show. That was quite the show. But yeah, I mean, then about a year after that, yeah, that's when everything started to happen. So it's been a while.
It has been a while, Richard. Well, before we get into kind of your journey you've been on, I wanted to kind of take a step back to just before you found out the news. You were in the MLW title picture there with your friend Hammerstone. What could have been? What were you thinking the direction of your career was going, I guess, before you got this news?
Right. So I would say everything, that whole Hammerstone saga, call it what you will, with the Clout couple and the title picture, I felt like at that time that was probably the hottest thing that MLW had.
Mm-hmm.
Objectively and, maybe a little subjectively, it's could be a little biased, but man, I felt like we were clicking on all cylinders. I felt like, the story was there. Everything was there from a character standpoint. I thought Alicia and I were on fire. And, just from a company perspective, I thought that it was, probably the best thing that we had done. So it was really unfortunate that that had to get cut short the way that it did. But I mean, the material that we put out and what we did do, I'm very proud of. And looking back on it in hindsight, I thought it was excellent. So hopefully people who were along for the ride, albeit a bit short, hopefully they enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. And so knowing that you guys were like such a central focus and were like one of the best things that MLW has arguably ever done, what was their reaction when all this kind of fell apart? I'm sure that, obviously this is not putting them in a great spot, having their kind of main event picture fall apart, last second because of what you were dealing with.
Yeah, I think the worst part was that when I had to step away, it was very unknown. Like it was just like, we got to figure some things out. That puts, creative in a point where it's like, well, what do we do? And, it was probably tough for them. I mean, once they found out everything, it was, they were so excellent to me. I want to say that, get that out there. So supportive, checking in on me all the time. Court was a tremendous person during this whole saga. But I mean, I'm sure for a couple of weeks or months or everything, it was like, man, when is Richard going to come back? When are we going to be able to do this? Do we pick up the ball? Do we do something different? I don't know what was going through their heads. We never ended up having a conversation regarding it.
Yeah, because it's very rare to see something like this happen and the company just works with you, right? I mean, a lot of times people's contracts get pushed around, they want time off for time back for time you spent off. And so for you two to part ways mutually at a time that seemed like a good chance for you to get your feet back under you, I was really surprised in a really happy way, honestly, to see that everybody was able to work and do business as well as that went in a business where that doesn't always go that way, Richard,
Right. Amicable is an understatement. It was, they were very good to me. Obviously we did have talks contractually because, there was time that I was still supposed to be with the company. Right. And very easily time could have been probably tacked on, right? Because I did miss a very large chunk. And there's a lot of verbiage in there that it's, that's lawyer talk and all that stuff. But we really connected on a human level and we talked person to person. Like we kind of put the paper to the side and it was just like, hey, what makes sense from a human perspective? how does that correlate with the creative perspective and the contractual perspective? The human element came first.
Yeah.
And that was very important to me. And, shout out to them. And, it just all ended up working out in a way where the best thing for both of us was to end things early and part ways.
Was it kind of just like the uncertainty of the circumstance? Because I can imagine you wanting to be untethered there, not have to worry about the weight of pro wrestling as you're dealing with a much bigger battle, obviously outside the ring.
Yeah, I mean, the focus was the focus, and ultimately, once that was taken care of, and wrestling was more front of mind, and when we were able to, start talking about creative and where do I fit into the puzzle, and then the remaining time left on the deal was like, well, how does this work for all of us? And then that's kind of when the conversations really started to happen, and then the news came out of everything coming to fruition.
Yeah, for sure. So when you're dealing with your battle, are you watching wrestling? Were you trying to keep up with the business, or was this something that was far away from your mind at the time?
I had to take a lot of time off. I just really wasn't watching anything.
Yeah.
Very, close friends would reach out to me on like every once in a while. I would like check Twitter or something just to see what was going on. And I'd get a lot of DMs and things of that nature of, people just saying, "Hey, man, you haven't tweeted in a while. Like usually you're wrestling every weekend or something, and where are you?" And I would say, I got some things happening, some things in the personal life, and I kind of kept it tight to the chest.
Man.
But I definitely took a step back from wrestling and didn't really watch a lot of it. Eventually, I did because it's such a huge part of my life and it always will be. So I was like, I can put it on the shelf for a little bit, but eventually I'm going to take it off and start watching. And I'm happy that I did because it did help me in a lot of times. And it was always kind of like, well, I'm going to get back to this. It's not like this is never going to happen again. So I had to have that mentality of like, I will be back. So let me just start watching. I'll get back into the groove and I'll watch bits and pieces. And then eventually I just full-fledged kind of got back into it.
So do you have any restrictions now that you're in remission, or is it just full speed ahead? You can do everything you did just before you got the diagnosis.
Full speed.
Wow.
Full
and is there
speed.
any concern about it coming back, or are you feeling confident about remission? I'm just curious.
No, very confident. Very confident. I think the risk is just like anybody else. Being in remission of it reoccurring or anybody being, God forbid, diagnosed. I don't think that there's any percentage that's like, you're more or less, it's good as of now.
Cool. Well, now you are free and clear of that, and you've got a lot of possibilities in front of you. So after you go through an experience like this, Richard, and you are a free agent, how do you decide what you want to be doing next?
Well, that's kind of like a two-part thing because how do I decide? I go out there and I give wherever I am. Right now, it's currently on the independent circuit.
Right.
And wherever I am is going to be the best version of Richard Holliday. I'm training my ass off, dieting my ass off, having the best matches of my career, in my opinion, right now, wherever I go. That's my job. Now, I've said I'm not in the boardrooms of these places, so like these companies that people might think of, I get tagged all the time on Twitter or Instagram. I want you here. I want you there. There's speculation here. There's speculation there. I'm not in the boardrooms, right? I'm doing an interview with you right now. That's where I'm at.
Right.
And I'm getting ready for a busy weekend ahead. So my job is to just showcase myself in the best light possible and let people know that I'm not only a consummate professional, but what they get on the other side of the screen is going to be well worth it and worth the investment. So I'm sure there are boardrooms out there that are penciling my name and underlining it and highlighting it, and that's great. And that's just because of what I'm doing on the outside.
Do you feel like obviously coming back, do you feel like renewed sense of go? I mean, you'd been in the business for a while there, and I know it's very hectic, and you're getting back to that pace right now. I guess how does it feel getting back into the business now as opposed to the early days when you had that you have that fire underneath you and it's all new and fresh and things like that?
I think the fire is even hotter now, and I think it's burning hotter now per se. So, when you first get in, you're just trying to establish yourself and just do as much as you can. And grow and learn and figure out who you are. Right now, it's beautiful because I know who I am and I know what I bring and I know what I can do to help elevate companies. I look back on my time in MLW and I started there as a relative unknown, I would say, and it's that's not like a bitter pill to swallow. It's like it is what it is. I was only in the business for a few years when I got signed to MLW, and they took a chance on me, and then ultimately I blossomed. So my first match there was kind of like the first card. Second match there was, my last match there was main event,
right?
For the championship. So I just was able to show people what I'm able to do when I'm given the ball. I have that now where it's like, hey, this is what I can do with the ball.
Yeah, I was always very impressed that you kept those AirPods in your ears. Did you put a little glue in there, by the way, to keep the AirPods when you were wrestling in your ears? I always wondered about how you did that.
No, I think I've only had like one match where the AirPods were actually in my ears.
Got it.
But no glue. No glue. But
Okay.
I did wrestle one match with them in my ears. It was very cumbersome.
So I was surprised and excited to see you in GCW, just because you're not a grizzled, angry deathmatch performer, Richard, and I was excited and interested to see you in that space. How was it getting to have that match with Blake Christian for the GCW World Championship and be in that environment there and feel that energy of GCW? I know you're coming back there too, by the way.
Yeah. Awesome. It was electric. GCW, I think some people do have that perception of like grizzled, deathmatch, hardcore, blood, guts, all that. But I think that they recognize when a star is a star, and the time was right to have me there. And it was an electric environment. My first match for the heavyweight championship, and what an environment it was. And it was such a good showing that I am back for GCW on September the 10th in Brooklyn.
Do you have any interest in the bloodier, gorier deathmatch side? I see you're against Charles Mason here on the horizon, who is known for cutting people up, things like that.
Do I have interest? Let's go with the word no.
No?
That would I would say no. I think that's fair to say. Now, if the right listen, I've been known to get blood on other people. I mean, ask my friend Hammerstone, who I have made up with, by the way.
I saw that.
Me and Hammerstone are cool again. I've bloodied him up, so I guess I can not definitively say no. Let's go with the very classic wrestling term of never say never.
I was about to say, because you say they know when a star's a star. They brought Cardona in, and look, he went there, fell through the glass, and came out the other side. I think he's making 4 figures more per booking because of it right now.
Well, listen, if I can guarantee 4 figures more per booking for going through glass, I don't know. Maybe I'd consider it, but I don't know. That's let's just stick with never say never. That's the clickbait there.
Okay, fine. Hammerstone. I saw you guys reconnected this past weekend. How was that, getting to wrestle and reconnect with your friend after so much time you guys have spent apart, at least in the pro wrestling space?
Right. So the last time that I saw Hammerstone was amidst the rivalry in Major League Wrestling. So It was June 22nd, 2022. And I had not seen him since we wrestled in Palmdale, California. And it was great to bury the hatchet and to see, someone who has been so instrumental in my career and outside of it. Really, he is one of my best friends, and it was great to reconnect and to see him and to have that match. And it was an electric environment. A lot of Dynasty fans in attendance, so it was beautiful. It really was.
You talk about Dynasty. Obviously, there's been reports that you've been around AEW tapings. Have you had a chance to reunite with the other part of Dynasty, MJF, in any capacity since getting back around the business?
Never say never.
I just didn't know if you guys had talked. That's all I was asking. So
Max and I?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. And what should do you want to say anything about what fans should take about the reports of you being around AEW tapings? Is it just friendly, or is there some business there going on?
Listen, I think speculation is like one of the funnest things about wrestling. And the speculation, I'm serious. I think the speculation that surrounds wrestling is is large, right? That's a big part of the business. Is like I said before, I want Richard here, I want Richard there. I think that fans are always going to do that, and they're always going to have fun fantasy booking. That's their thing, especially on Twitter. So I see it all, and it's exciting to see. And listen, I'm just happy that fans, they want to see me in a certain light, and that's ultimately all I can ask
Yeah,
for.
for sure. Are you itching to sign a big contract, or are you enjoying kind of getting your sea legs back underneath yourself and wrestling a couple matches right now? I mean, it's not like one of those things that you can flip a switch always and your body reacts exactly how you want it to, especially after what you've been through, man.
Right. So ultimately, I would say that, like, let's say my first match back was a major opportunity. I would have happily or unhappily had to decline that, because that wouldn't have been putting myself in the best possible position to succeed. So I do think that getting back on the independence and I'm not subsidizing what the independence has to offer. It's very important for me to go out there and deliver my best performance. But ultimately, it was important to get my legs under me, take the bookings, travel, and listen. I'm booked out, and that's a wonderful thing that people want Richard Holliday on their show. With that being said, yes, I am ready to do whatever it is that is next in my career. I'm ready for any opportunity, whatever it could be thrown my way. Like I've said, I've taken the ball in MLW, started out as a relative unknown, finished as a main eventer. I know what I can bring to a table, and what I bring from a creative standpoint, a professional standpoint. So, if there is something on the horizon, I am 100% ready.
What about like New Japan? I think about guys like Filthy Tom Lawler that you've shared space with that have really kind of gone over to New Japan Strong and made it their own and have started to try to grow that. Are you interested in possibly working with New Japan?
Absolutely, yeah. New Japan, I think that would be somewhere that fans maybe have not fantasy booked me all too often, but if I were to show up in New Japan, I think it would get people talking for sure. So I'm absolutely interested in working for New Japan. They're a great company, from everything that I've seen and people that I know that have worked there. So who knows? Maybe they'll listen to the House of Nick and maybe talk about me in their boardrooms. Who knows?
Hey, I'll put a headline together. I can at least start the conversation. Richard, I want to thank you for taking the time to kind of walk us through what you've been going through, but more importantly, where you're going. I think that's really what I'm most interested in. People are most interested in right now. I mean, you've obviously been to hell and back. If there's anybody listening right now that's going through or is preparing to kind of go through what you've gone through in the past year, do you have any advice for them you think that could help them in their circumstance?
Absolutely. And I do appreciate that a lot of the interview was conducted about where I'm going and not so much in the past, because, I do understand that this is a very large part of me, but, it's just a chapter in my story. It's not the whole book. But what I will tell people is have that mindset. Have that mindset that this is just a chapter in your story. It's not the entire book. There's so many more pages ahead of you that you're going to be able to write, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. And if you are going through something that is, maybe not what you expected or anticipated to happen to you in life, a strong mindset will get you farther than anything else. And to stay positive and to know that you're going to be okay and have faith in whatever it is that you have faith in, and believe, and you're going to be fine. And that was kind of my mindset. That was my mindset throughout the entire thing. That was my mantra, was the mind powers the body, and we will get through this and everything will be okay. You'll come out on the other side. You'll be able to tell your story.
Rock and roll, man. Hey, Richard, where do you want to send people to find you, follow you, support you, maybe see you in action, anything like that?
Sure. Yeah. So I post all my bookings on my Twitter and my Instagram, they're both at Most Marketable. Follow me there. I would appreciate that. You can see me live on various promotions throughout the country. I am, like I said, booked out, through most of the end of the year, which is great. The summer of Holiday is strong, and hopefully I can see you there.